Amara Davis stepped out of the sleek black car, the soft click of her heels echoing across the driveway. Conversations hushed, laughter faded, music dimmed into a quiet hum. Every head turned. She held her posture with quiet grace, smoothing the fabric of her dress, before bending slightly to reach for two small hands. Out stepped her boys, mirror images of each other, with wide brown eyes and tight curls that bounced with every step. One on each side, they grabbed hold of her hands, eyes scanning the sea of unfamiliar faces with curiosity and excitement. Then the driver's door opened. A tall figure emerged, broad-shouldered, composed, and unshakably calm. Ethan Cole. He moved with the ease of someone used to being watched, his presence magnetic and quietly commanding. As he stepped beside Amara, the whispers rippled through the crowd. It couldn't be Ethan Cole. That Ethan Cole, the billionaire tech visionary, the man seen on magazine covers and news segments, was standing at their family reunion, and no one could make sense of it. The whispers spread quickly. Is that him? Wait, those are her kids. She's married, I thought. Amara could feel every stare, every judgment, every memory pressing down on her. She had not seen these people in years, not since the night they humiliated her. It had been Marcus, her ex-husband, who first started it. Useless. That was what he had called her. Standing in the same backyard, telling everyone she had failed to give him children. His mother, so proud and sharp-tongued, had announced he deserved a real woman who could continue the family line. Some laughed that night. Others just looked away. No one had defended her. But today, she was not the same woman who had driven away in tears. Today, she had her children, her boys, her husband. Yes, her husband, Ethan, who squeezed her shoulder gently as if to say, "I'm here." The first voice to break the silence was sugary sweet, dripping with disbelief. "Amara, is that really you? And oh my, are these your kids?" Amara smiled, calm but unshakable. "Yes," she said, kneeling to adjust her boys' collars. "These are my sons." The woman's eyes darted to Ethan, who stood silently but confidently, his hand now holding hers. Another voice whispered too loudly, "I thought she couldn't have kids." Amara straightened, her heart pounding, but her face steady. She had imagined this moment for years. Their stares, their fake smiles, the way they'd scrambled to make sense of her life. "They said I was nothing without children or a husband," she thought, her voice steady inside her mind. She looked at the crowd, every pair of eyes frozen on her, and then glanced at Ethan, who smiled proudly at her, and the twins. Today, she had both and far more. Married Marcus young, pressured by his family to have children. From the very first year, the pressure began. His mother constantly reminded her of her duty as a wife, and his sisters made jokes about when the real babies would arrive. Amara wanted children too, but life had other plans. She went through multiple miscarriages, each one breaking her heart more than the last. Instead of comforting her, Marcus blamed her. "You're the problem, Amara. Why can't you do the one thing a wife should?" he once shouted after yet another doctor's visit. His family only made it worse. They whispered behind her back, taunted her at gatherings, and treated her like she was broken. The lowest moment came during a family reunion years ago. Marcus's mother stood up in front of everyone and proudly announced, "Marcus deserves a real woman who can give him children. He's planning to divorce Amara." Laughter spread through the crowd like fire. People she called family laughed at her pain, and Marcus just stood there silently, not defending her, not even holding her hand. That night she packed a small bag, left the house, and never went back. Life after leaving Marcus was hard. She had nothing but a car, a few clothes, and her unfinished college degree. For the first year, she stayed in a tiny rented room and worked 2 jobs to keep herself afloat. She often cried at night, missing the life she thought she had, and feeling the sting of betrayal. But slowly, she began to rebuild. She enrolled back in college, finishing her degree in marketing. She worked her way into a consulting job, where she met new people who respected her for her talent and work ethic, not for her ability to have children. The loneliness was still there, but it became quieter as she grew stronger. That's when she met Ethan. He wasn't like Marcus or anyone she had known before. Ethan was kind, confident, and despite being one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in the country, surprisingly humble. They met when she was assigned as a marketing consultant for one of his company's projects. Their relationship started slowly, built on long conversations and mutual respect. For months, Amara kept her past and medical struggles to herself, afraid history might repeat itself. But when she finally told him the truth, that she had fertility issues, that she had been humiliated for it, that she feared she'd never be a mother, he didn't look at her with pity or disappointment. He took her hand and said, "Then we'll figure it out together. You're not broken, Amara, you're perfect as you are." For the first time in years, she felt seen, supported, loved. With Ethan's support, they started IVF treatments, something she had been too afraid to attempt before. It wasn't easy, but after many tries, Amara got pregnant. The day the doctor said she was expecting twins, she cried so hard she could barely speak. Ethan just held her and whispered, "We're going to be okay." Now, with two beautiful twin boys, a supportive husband, and a life she built herself, Amara felt stronger than she ever imagined she could be. But there was still one part of her past she hadn't faced. The people who tore her down when she was already broken. She didn't go back to them out of anger or revenge. She didn't want to scream or prove them wrong for the sake of their opinion. She wanted closure. She wanted to look them in the eyes and know deep in her soul that she no longer needed their approval. So when the family reunion invitation arrived in her inbox, sent by a cousin who probably didn't even expect her to come, she said yes. She wasn't coming as the same Amara they had thrown away. She was coming as a woman who had rebuilt her life from the ground up, with two children holding her hands and a husband by her side who loved her for everything she was and everything she wasn't. This time, she wasn't showing up to beg for belonging. She was showing up to close a door on her terms. Marcus, now remarried, froze when he saw Amara. He was standing near the drinks table, laughing with some cousins, but his smile disappeared the moment she stepped out of the car holding two children's hands. His eyes narrowed, moving from Amara to Ethan, who was walking beside her. He let out a loud laugh that made several people turn toward him. "Well, well," Marcus said, his voice full of fake cheer. "Look who finally decided to show up. And who's this? Your sugar daddy." A few relatives chuckled nervously, unsure how to react, but others stayed silent, watching closely. Amara held her son's hands tighter, feeling her chest tighten. She hadn't expected kindness, but the old cruelty still stung. Ethan, calm as ever, placed his hand on her back and spoke before she could answer. "I'm her husband," he said firmly, his voice carrying across the yard. "Ethan Cole. And these," he looked down at the twins, who were clinging to their mother's legs, "are our biological children, born through IVF." Amara never gave up, and because of that, we have this beautiful family. A hush fell over the crowd. People exchanged surprised looks, some even whispering, "Biological and IVF?" Marcus scoffed. "IVF, huh? Figures. Money can buy anything these days." He smirked at Ethan. "So you're saying you paid for kids like you pay for your fancy cars?" Ethan didn't flinch. He stepped closer, looking Marcus directly in the eye. "No, I'm saying your ex-wife had the strength to go through something most people would give up on. She fought for these children. We fought for them, and we won." The twins clutched Amara tighter, confused by the tension. She knelt down to comfort them, whispering softly, "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here." That's when Marcus's new wife, a tall woman in a bright red dress, stepped forward. Her face was tight, her smile even tighter. "You came here to show off, didn't you?" she said, looking Amara up and down. "The car, the kids, the billionaire husband. We get it, Amara. You moved on. You didn't need to rub it in our faces." Amara slowly stood up, shocked at the accusation. "I didn't come here to show off," she said quietly. I came here because this is still my family, whether you like it or not. The woman laughed sharply. Family? You walked out, years ago, you left Marcus, left everyone, and now you want attention. For a moment, Amara couldn't speak. The words cut deeper than she wanted to admit. She felt like she was standing back in time, that same humiliated young woman again. Ethan took her hand gently, grounding her. She left because she was mistreated, he said calmly, but firmly. And she doesn't need anyone's attention here. She has a happy life, one that no one in this yard can take credit for. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Some of Amara's relatives, cousins, and aunt, looked down at the ground, clearly ashamed. A few even whispered things like, maybe we were too hard on her, and she looks happy, really happy. But others stayed silent, their faces unreadable. Amara's heart ached as she saw the divided faces. She had dreamed of this moment being empowering, but standing there with all eyes on her, reopened old wounds. Why did I even come? She thought. Was it worth it? Her sons tugged at her dress. Mommy, can we play? One of them asked softly. She smiled down at them and nodded. Go ahead, but stay where I can see. Watching them run off eased her chest a little. They were her joy, her proof that the past no longer owned her. Marcus crossed his arms, glaring at Ethan. Enjoy it while it lasts, he muttered. Money can't buy happiness forever. Ethan smiled slightly. No, but love and respect can build it. That single sentence silenced Marcus. Amara stood straighter, holding Ethan's hand. She reminded herself why she came to close a chapter, not reopen it. But still, the old pain lingered, and she wondered if walking into this place was healing, or simply tearing open scars that had only just healed. He brings up Amara's infertility history, trying to humiliate her again. Marcus smirked and raised his voice so more people could hear. Let's not act like she's some miracle mom, he said loudly, pointing at Amara. Everyone here knows she couldn't have kids. She's been broken since the start. Probably why she ran away. And let's be real. How do we even know those kids are his? He jabbed his finger toward Ethan. Rich guy like him? You sure he's the real father? Could have been anyone's? A gasp rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, did he really just say that? Amara froze, her chest tightened. For a moment, she felt like she was back in that old house, standing there while people laughed at her pain. Her hands trembled, but before she could answer, Ethan stepped forward. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. You're attacking your ex-wife and my children because you have nothing else, Ethan said. He reached into his bag and pulled out an envelope. Since you want to question paternity in public, here's proof. He handed the envelope to Mark. Inside were legal documents, DNA test results, with Ethan's name clearly listed as the biological father of both twins. Marcus stared at the papers, his face turning red. This doesn't mean anything. People fake things. Ethan cut him off. These are court certified. Do you want me to read them aloud, or shall I post them online for your entire family to see? Because I'm tired of your disrespect toward my wife and kids. Someone in the back muttered, wow, he came prepared. Marcus's new wife looked away, embarrassed, while several relatives shook their heads at him. One elderly uncle stepped forward and said, Marcus, enough. This is shameful. But Marcus wasn't finished. You think you can just show up here with money and kids, acting like you're better than us? He spat at Amara. You couldn't even keep my family's respect back then. The words hit her like a cold slap. She bit her lip, trying not to let her emotions spill out in front of everyone. And then she heard a voice she recognized too well. Tasha had once been her closest cousin, almost like a sister. But there she was, standing by Marcus's side, avoiding Amara's eyes. It's true though, Tasha said softly, almost as if she wanted to disappear. We all knew about her medical issues. Amara turned sharply. You knew how? Tasha hesitated, then looked down. You trusted me back then. You told me about your tests, and I told Auntie. I didn't think it would spread so far. I'm sorry, Amara. I never thought they'd use it to humiliate you. The words made Amara's heart sink. She felt betrayed all over again. She remembered that night, running out of the house, hearing laughter echo behind her. And now she knew why. Because someone she loved had told her secret. A flash of memory hit her, sitting alone in a dark room, holding a pillow to her face to muffle her sobs, feeling like the world had ended. She could hear Marcus's mother's cruel voice calling her useless, and the laughter of people she once called family. But standing there now, Ethan's hand on her shoulder, her children laughing and playing a few feet away, she realized she wasn't that woman anymore. She wasn't broken, and she didn't need their approval. Still, the anger burned. "I trusted you, Tasha," Amara said, her voice shaking but steady enough to carry across the yard. "I thought you loved me like a sister, and you gave them my pain as gossip." Tasha's eyes filled with tears. "I was stupid. I thought I was being honest with Auntie, but I didn't know they'd twist it like that." One of Amara's older cousins walked over and said, "For what it's worth, Amara, I'm sorry. I should have stopped them that night." Another relative, an aunt, nodded and whispered, "We were wrong. You didn't deserve that." But not everyone agreed. Marcus scoffed and said, "Oh please, stop pretending you're all saints now." She left. She abandoned us, not the other way around. More whispers spread. Some relatives murmured apologies, guilt on their face. Others crossed their arms, staying loyal to Marcus. Amara stood there feeling the weight of years of pain pressing on her. This was what she came back for, to face them. And now she had to decide, would she forgive, or would she destroy them emotionally the way they once destroyed her? She took a slow breath and looked at Ethan. His eyes were calm, steady, telling her silently, "This is your choice." Her children ran back to her, laughing, holding flowers they had picked. "Mummy, look," one of them said proudly. She smiled at them, her anger softening a little. "I'm not broken anymore," she said quietly. But everyone heard her. "You tried to make me believe I was worthless, and I believed it for a long time. But look at me now. Look at my family. Look at what I built after you all threw me away." Marcus rolled his eyes, but no one laughed this time. Some relatives even clapped lightly, breaking the heavy silence. Still, inside, Amara felt torn. Some people truly seemed sorry. Some were still cruel. She could forgive a few, but others? Maybe forgiveness wasn't for them. It was for her. Marcus had cheated on Amara during their marriage with his now wife, and that's why his family turned against her, to cover his infidelity. For years, Amara had blamed herself, believing their lies that she was not enough. But now, the truth was about to come out. Ethan stepped forward, his voice steady and cold. "You know what's funny, Marcus? You keep attacking my wife, questioning her character, when you're the one who destroyed your marriage. You and your family called her useless to hide your secret." Marcus's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" Ethan opened a folder he had brought and pulled out printed papers and photographs. "This is proof," he said, holding them up so people could see. "Emails, hotel receipts, photos of you and her." He pointed at Marcus's current wife. "While you were still married to Amara, you cheated on her, and then convinced your family to blame her, so no one would look at you." The crowd gasped. Someone muttered, "Oh my God." Another whispered, "Is this true?" Marcus's wife turned sharply to him, her face tightening. "What is he talking about, Marcus?" she asked. "You told me you two were already separated when we started." Marcus stammered. "It wasn't like that." Ethan held up another paper. "This is a time-stamped photo of you two in a hotel together, 3 months before you filed for divorce. Same week you called Amara useless. At that reunion." The whispers grew louder. "He lied to us. He cheated on her all along. So all that humiliation, for nothing." Marcus's wife suddenly stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed through the yard, silencing everyone. "You lied to me, Marcus," she shouted, her voice shaking. "You told me she left you. You said she couldn't give you kids, and that's why you divorced her. You used me as your excuse to destroy her life." Marcus reached for her arm, but she pulled away. "Don't touch me," she screamed, tears in her eyes. "You made me part of this mess. You made me one of them." Amara stood still, watching the scene unfold, her heart pounding. This was the truth she had needed all those years ago. But she hadn't expected to feel calm. The same relatives who once laughed at her were now looking at Marcus with disgust. One uncle stepped forward and said, "You made us turn against Amara for your mistake. We defended you, Marcus." Even Marcus's mother, who had been the loudest critic of Amara, looked away, shame on her face. "Is it true, Marcus?" she whispered. Marcus didn't answer, but his silence said enough. Ethan placed the folder down on a table and stepped back to Amara's side. "I didn't come here to fight," he said, "but I won't let anyone hurt my wife. Not with lies, not with secrets. She deserves better." And now everyone knows the truth. The crowd was silent again, but it was different now. People were no longer looking at Amara with judgment. They were looking at Marcus. Amara took a deep breath and stepped forward, her hands no longer shaking. "Do you know what's funny?" she said, her voice steady and clear. "For years I thought I needed your approval. I thought if I tried harder, if I stayed quiet, maybe you'd all accept me. But now I see it. I was never the problem. I was never broken. You were just too busy covering up your own lies to see my worth." Marcus opened his mouth, but she raised her hand, stopping him. "No, you don't get to speak anymore. You don't get to hurt me anymore. Because I don't need your approval. I built a life worth more than your validation ever was." Her words hung heavy in the air, powerful and free. Ethan wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close as the twins came running back, unaware of the storm that had just ended. Marcus's wife turned and walked away, muttering, "I'm done with you," as she left the yard. One cousin clapped slowly, then another. Soon several relatives were nodding at Amara, some even apologizing quietly for their part in the past. Others stood still, uncomfortable, not ready to admit their guilt. But it didn't matter anymore. Amara had said what she needed to say. She had faced them and left the truth out in the open for all to see. For the first time in years, she felt light, as if the weight she'd been carrying had finally fallen away. She reached for Ethan's hand. "Let's go," she whispered. And for the first time ever, she walked out of a family gathering with her head high, free from the pain that once tied her down. Epilogue. Moving forward, a few relatives sincerely apologized. Others stayed bitter. One aunt stepped forward, her eyes were, "Amara, I'm so sorry," she said softly. "I believed lies I shouldn't have. You didn't deserve what we did to you." Amara gave her a small, warm smile. "Thank you for saying that. It means a lot." A cousin she barely knew nodded awkwardly. I laughed that night years ago. I was wrong. I'm sorry." Amara nodded, but said nothing else. Some wounds didn't need words, but not everyone felt remorse. A couple of relatives stood with their arms crossed, glaring as if she had no right to be there. Amara saw them, but didn't care. For the first time, their opinions had no power over her. She was no longer that desperate woman begging for acceptance. Marcus stood a few feet away, face pale, hands shoved into his pockets. He looked smaller than she remembered, almost fragile. Amara took a deep breath and walked up to him. Ethan stayed by her side, quietly supporting her. "Marcus," she said calmly. He looked up, but didn't speak. "I want you to know something. I forgive you." He blinked in surprise. "You forgive me?" "Yes," she said. "Not for you. Don't mistake this for kindness. I'm forgiving you because I refuse to carry your mistakes on my back anymore. You don't to live in my head, rent-free, Marcus. You don't get to define who I am anymore." His mouth opened slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but no words came out. "You had power over me once," Amara continued, her voice steady. "You humiliated me, and I let myself believe I was worthless. But I'm not that woman anymore. I have a husband who loves me, children who adore me, and a life I built from nothing. I'm free of you, Marcus, completely." She stepped back and turned toward Ethan, who took her hand gently. He smiled down at her, pride in his eyes. "Ready to go?" he asked softly. "More than ready," she said. They started walking toward the car, the twins running ahead with their little flowers in hand. Behind them, whispers filled the air, some apologetic, some bitter. Marcus just stood there staring at the ground as his world continued to crumble around him. His wife gone, his lies exposed, his family turning away. The drive home. As they reached the car, one of the twins tugged Amara's dress. "Mommy, are we done here?" he asked. "Yes, sweetheart," she said, smiling gently. "We're done here." Ethan opened the car door for her and the boys, then took his seat beside her. He held her hand as the car pulled away from the driveway. For the first time in years, Amara didn't look back. This wasn't just leaving a reunion, this was leaving behind every piece of pain that once held her down. She didn't need anyone's approval or acceptance. She had built her own happiness, her own family, her own strength. Marcus could keep his bitterness, his lies, and his broken pride. She had peace, and that was worth far more than anything she had ever wanted from their final scene, a new beginning. As Amara drove away, one of her twins asked, "Mommy, why were they so surprised to see us?" She smiled, glancing at her son through the rearview mirror. "Because they never thought we'd be this happy," she replied softly. The little boy frowned in thought, then smiled wide. "But we are happy, Mommy." "Yes, sweetheart," Amara said, reaching back to squeeze his tiny hand. "We are very happy." Ethan looked at her, his thumb gently brushing the back of her hand. "You okay?" he asked quietly. Amara nodded, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. "For the first time in years," she said. There was no tremble in her voice, no shadow of the old pain. It felt strange, lighter somehow, like breathing after holding your breath for too long. The twins giggled in the back seat, showing each other the flowers they'd picked from the yard, completely unaware of the storm that had just passed. Their laughter filled the car, warm and pure, washing away the last of the heaviness inside her chest. Amara took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, feeling a soft smile pull at her lips. She remembered all those nights she cried alone, thinking she had failed, thinking her life was over. Now she saw herself clearly, a strong woman who didn't just survive, but built something beautiful out of the pain. Outside, the city lights passed by in a blur, and for once she didn't feel the need to look back at the house they'd left behind. That chapter was closed. "Mommy," one of the twins said again, "are we going to go see them again?" Amara glanced at Ethan, who raised an eyebrow, letting her decide. She smiled gently. "Maybe someday, if they learn how to be kind, but right now, we're going home. That's what matters. Home." The twins cheered together. Amara laughed, the sound free and light. She looked ahead at the road, at her family, at her life, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. In that quiet moment, she finally understood. She didn't need anyone's approval, no one's permission to feel joy, because the truth was, she already had it within her. As the car disappeared into the golden light of evening, the weight of the past gently lifted. Her heart at last was at ease. Thank you for staying with us until the end. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful journeys. Until next time, take care and goodbye.